The other thing besides starting Unit 4 is that we are going to go over the final. You have a final coming up in about 3.5, 4 weeks. And you have a new module called Practicing for the Final with instructions and a quiz to make sure that you understood the instructions well, final study materials, and then practice finals. And I'm just going to take a minute to go over this, but to get full detail, you're going to want to read through these and do all the quizzes and such. Let's just start with each one of these in turn. So the final is different than you might expect from other classes in that normally final exams from other classes tend to be either like a final unit exam, like just the last unit, or comprehensive over the entire year, usually pulling questions that you've had, things that you've done in the class. And this is neither a last unit exam nor a traditional final in that we're just pulling old questions and seeing how much you remember. Instead, we're going to synthesize the information, all the details, composers, historical events, musical innovations and events, and those kind of things, and composers and their genres of music and the pieces that they wrote together. And it's informational cross section. The idea is that you could grab all this information at the end, place composers in the periods of times that they come from, historical things, musical things, innovations, developments in their respective time periods, and think about matching up the composers with the kind of music that they wrote as well. So it's not the same. It's a new sort of cross-pollinating piece of the puzzle. It's your final exam. So here we are in practicing for the finals. It's the first part of the practicing for the finals unit or module. And it says, basically, you're going to have 4 sections. All this information is going to be added up to understand time period and chronology. Okay. The second section, so names of periods of time in the music text that we've done and their order and dates. Second one is your composers with what time period that they came from. So we're going to say, well, where's Beethoven from? Where's Haydn from? Where is Josquin des Prez from? That kind of thing. Third one is important historical events, philosophies, inventions, musical innovations, basically, and non-music people, okay? For instance, Martin Luther, right? Or that, who's very important in terms of history, and that changed music for the time, or Pope Gregory I, not musician, important changes in music happened because of what he did. Okay, so they will be matching them to the time period. And the last one is music genres with their featured composers according to the tests. There are practice questions for each of these, or tests for each of these, and there's practice study materials and stuff like that as well. So let's go over to final study materials right here. Wow, it looks like a lot of stuff, but it's very doable. First off, you should know the names and dates, the dates of all these periods. Remember that the Middle Ages is subsumed, eats up and encompasses the Gothic period. Okay, so that's question number 1. Quiz number 1. Quiz number 2, we'll take all these composers, right? It's a lot of them, and say, what period were they active in? Okay? And then it says, well, here's a bunch of non-musical people, and then events, individuals, and philosophies and musical characters, genre and form, right? Got them all through there as well. Where do they go in these time periods? And then finally, you're just going to do a matching thing. I'm going to take and say Josquin des Prez, who was he matched, or what was he matched with? The Renaissance Mass. And these are very name specific right there. Okay, so it's your entire study for that right there. It's a bunch of matching and placing things in the right historical box that they're from, and then composers with that right there, their genre of music. Okay, there is a quiz that you take today. It says, let's show you. Did you understand what the instructions were, right? And whether true or false. There's a practice test for each corresponding section. Yeah, and so on. So you go through and you do this today, right? After you have gone through this with a fine-tooth comb and looked over the study materials and downloaded them for themselves, and then you take a quiz on that. Now, then There are practice exams. These are actually, apart from the fact they randomize, the same as what you get um, for the final exam. And if you click on this, it says you get 5 minutes to do it, and so on. It's due on November 6th. Now, it will continue to be open so you can practice and practice and practice, but I need to see that sometime this week you have actually tried out the exam so that you know where you're at. You can do it today if you want. I just need to see that everybody has done it by November 6th, and then I will go give a separate grade outside of this as well, right, to you for getting your homework done. It's my way of making sure that you're well aware ahead of time what's on the final, what the format looks like, and you know where the resources are to practice them. So, in addition to the classical period, you need to be working on this as well. That's it. So, in review, there is a module called Practicing for the Final that's available now. You're going to read the instructions. You are going to download the study materials, so a list of everything that you need to know, like each composer, each genre of music, everything that's going to be on the final. And then you take a quiz that says, I read this and I understand it. Finally, by the end of the week, you will be taking each of these at least once. I mean, you'll continue to do that, right? And then you continue to practice these throughout the term so that when the final comes, right, you'll be able to do that. All right. Have a great day studying the classical period.